Hello, and thank you for tuning in to this live version of the TripX DC virtual walk around town on this rather snowy January day. I am right here in the middle of the National Mall. My name is Rob. I'm the founder of TripX DC, if you don't know me. And I'm going to be taking a stroll around the quite snowy National Mall today. So, if you live in a place that gets a lot of snow, you probably think that this is not a very big deal. But this is, in fact, the first significant snow in Washington, D.C. in 2 years. And so it's not something that we're so used to anymore. Now, you might remember about a decade ago, some really, really huge, massive blizzards here in D.C. And so a lot of people remember those when we got, feet and feet of snow during the entire winter. And they think it's always like that, when in fact it's usually not like that. And last winter, we got almost no measurable snow. And so this is the first time in a while. Micah E. says, best day ever. Thank you for tuning in. I take it you live in D.C. as well, if you are enjoying the snow day. Now, just to fill you in on the forecast, it is a snowy day, and snow is in the forecast today, Sunday, tomorrow, Monday, and possibly on Tuesday as well. Now, the Capital Weather Gang, which I reference a lot, gave today a 10 out of 10 on their 10-point scale. And basically their reasoning was that it's just enough snow to look nice and to let you make some snow people and have a snowball fight, but it's not so much that it's going to disrupt traffic or shut down the airport or anything else that's especially disruptive. So I think I would agree with that assessment, and we'll take a little stroll around today. So let me turn the camera around. Now I have you in advance. I have the special winter gloves that can control the phone. And as I learned on my way over here, they don't work so well in the snow when the phone gets wet. So we will just have to do our best and hope that everything works out. So if you are tuning in, I see about a dozen people tuned in already. Go ahead and say hello and let me know where you're tuned in from and whether there is any snow on the ground where you live. So right now I am at approximately 7th Street, right here on the National Mall. So you can see the Washington Monument off in the distance over there. And right in front, that is the Smithsonian Castle, right there. And then we've got the Hirshhorn Museum there. And some people have already set up a snow family over here, which seems to be quite popular with the folks walking past. I'll take a peek at these. Dale, hello from very snowy Chicago. How snowy in Chicago, Dale? Marlon, hello. Peter. Peter's from Sweden, is that right? Does it snow much in Sweden? I actually don't know. Let us know, Peter, because I am woefully ignorant about your country. So it looks like we've got 3 people in our snow family over here. No carrot nose, though. They must have come out and not brought all of their supplies. Denise, hello from Capitol Hill, snow on the ground. Yes, Denise, I am going to walk over in your direction, so we will see some of the snow over there. Dale says 1 foot of snow in Chicago. Well, that is a lot more than we have right here on the National Mall right now. Austin, 2 inches in Cleveland. I think we've got about 2 inches right now, so quite similar. And Mike is tuning in from Chevy Chase, which is just a few miles from where I am right now. I imagine the weather is quite similar. Russ from the UK. I don't think it gets too snowy in the UK, does it, Russ? Let us know, because the times I've been to the UK in the winter, there has been no snow in sight. Micah says cold toes in Southeast. Hopefully if you've gone for a run or gone out to walk your dog, you dressed for it. I have seen quite a few runners out already. Elizabeth from London, they did have some snow last weekend, which is unusual. And Gina from Salt Lake City, where there is no snow, which is the opposite of what I might expect. Yes, Mike, I am having to be very careful about watching my step, because I'm sure there are folks tuned in who are rooting for me to slip on a patch of ice and wipe out for the entertainment of everyone who's tuned in, but I really hope not to do that. Thank you, Austin, for converting your snow to metric. It seems like we've got about half of the audience European, so you are better at that than I am. And Peter says last night was minus 30 degrees Celsius. So 0 Celsius is freezing, so minus 30 degrees Celsius must be awfully cold. So Ben asks, where am I walking to? Well, right now I am walking to the east on the National Mall. You can see the Capitol Dome off in the distance there. So some folks have asked what the Capitol looks like right now, so I'm going to take a walk past to give a peek at what the situation is. Mike asks, do I think the fencing around the Capitol will be permanent? And I sure hope not. I think there are many folks, local leaders, who absolutely do not want that to be the case. So far, I've already seen the mayor, several city council members, our delegate to the Congress have all said no to the permanent fence. So not entirely clear to me who the ultimate decision maker is, but I think it would be quite a shame for those of us who live here, for those of you who want to visit. "5 millimeters of snow in Ohio," says Austin. So over here we have the National Gallery of Art. Unfortunately, the National Gallery of Art Sculpture Garden is still closed due to COVID, so as much as I would have enjoyed taking a walk around the grounds in there, it was not meant to be today. And of course, we've got the Air and Space Museum, still under heavy renovation. For folks who have been following along, the Air and Space Museum is undergoing a multi-year, billion-dollar with a B renovation, and I think it will be quite nice once it's done. In the meantime, you're going to have to pardon their dust if and when it does reopen. So if you've just tuned in and you haven't said hello already, let me know where you're tuned in from and if there's any snow on the ground where you live. We've got quite a global audience today. Might be a little too early in the morning for the west coast of the US, but it's right in the middle of the afternoon in Europe. It is 11 a.m. here on the East Coast. So normally when it snows like this, you have a few impromptu snowball fights arranged on social media. Have not seen any as I've been out today, but I wouldn't be surprised if I come across one at some point. A lot of times they organize them in the neighborhoods where folks live rather than down here on the National Mall, so if anyone knows of any snowball fights in DC happening today, let me know. S. Arnold, says snow in Indiana. And Ron, south of Pittsburgh, about 2 inches and expecting 4 to 6. Peter says DC looks beautiful in white. Yes, some of the best photos of DC are taken in the winter. If you've come on a TripHacks DC Monuments tour with me, you might recall I said at the Korean War Memorial that it's best seen on a cold day like today. Doesn't necessarily have to be snowing, but it should be cold because it is a winter scene, and unfortunately many of the casualties that happened in the Korean War were due to the conditions, like the freezing cold in the winter. The Korean Peninsula is not so forgiving when it comes to climate. Tim says hello from NC. Hello, Tim. Not sure if there's any snow on the ground that far south. Ben asks if I will go to a memorial today, and I think I may. It's probably not going to be one of the major memorials that are on the standard TripHacks DC Monuments tour. but if I do go around the Capitol on the north side, I think we may pass a memorial that I can stop in and see. Austin asks, how does DC react to snow? Are the streets cleared? How do drivers react? Well, I'll let you be the judge of that. This is 4th Street right here. And I would say that it is fairly clear. They did salt yesterday evening. I saw trucks out with salt. And so it's not terrible. Also, there's not a ton of snow, so it's hard to judge. How do drivers react? I would say not well, not particularly well. So I am being extra careful today to watch my steps so I don't slip and to make sure that I'm safe crossing all of these streets. Sean says hello from East Tennessee. Hello, Sean. Thanks for tuning in. I see another snow person up here, and this one looks like they did bring the proper accessories to decorate the snow person. So we'll take a quick peek at what that one looks like. Ben asks, how much snow are y'all expecting? And I should have memorized that number before I started the stream, because I was just reading it in the Capital Weather Gang before I started. I believe the range was 4 to 8 inches for DC. More if you are, I think, farther north, less if you're farther south. All right, so this looks like a pretty good snow person over here. Now I like this. They brought out the carrot nose, a very stylish face mask on this one, and some gloves, because you've got to have gloves if you're out here in the winter. Dale says if the mayoral election were in February, snow removal would be a priority. That might be true, but if it was anything like last winter, there wasn't any snow to remove, so. It all depends on the year. When I did the episode of the Trip Hacks DC podcast with Jason Samenow, the founder and I believe editor of the Capital Weather Gang, he said that on average there is about a foot of snow. I think it's like 15 inches if you take the average. It's about a foot if you take the median. And so that's not nothing, but it's also over an entire winter. And if you're living in Boston or Buffalo, New York, you're like, hey, we get that in a weekend. So it's all about perspective. On the other hand, if you're from southern Florida and you've never seen snow in your life, a foot is a ton. So all about where you're coming from and what you're expecting. All right, so we are about to get up to 3rd Street right here. So some folks have asked about the fence. This was installed, the first version of the fence was installed on January 7th, and it has grown. Now, they said it was needed for the inauguration to secure the area, which seems perfectly reasonable, but of course the inauguration was a week and a half ago. And so question is it still necessary, and when is it coming down? Oh, Austin, thank you for confirming, looking up and confirming DC's snow forecast. And the answer for Ben is 4 to 6 inches. Now, the sad thing is that if January 6th had not happened, you would have hundreds of kids sledding down the hill right over there on this side of the Capitol right now. And obviously, with the fence there is no one inside this perimeter, and it is not happening this year. So I happen to know many people who are quite upset about that. But we will take a walk around the outside of the perimeter and get a sense of what this thing looks like. Unfortunately, if you attempted to tune in yesterday on my live stream, I was going to show this yesterday a little bit closer, but the technology did not cooperate. And despite my best attempts, I could not get the stream to start. It just kept giving me errors. And after about 10 minutes, my fingers were frozen, and I figured even if I get this thing working, there's no way I'm going to be able to walk around with frozen fingers for the next hour. Austin asks, are there any other hills where people can sled? And the answer is yes, and I did see some photos on social media this morning of some other hills where families had gathered. Now, the thing is, the other hills aren't quite as big, and they're definitely not as iconic. So a few years ago, there was a big hubbubaloo because kids from the neighborhood came over to the Capitol and they sledded. Somebody let me know if they know what the past tense of sled is. And the Capitol Police said, actually, this is not allowed. You're not allowed to bring sleds in, sled on this hill. And so Congress had to pass a bill, or rather they put it in some other bill, that said that it's actually allowed to sled at the Capitol. So it was fully legal for about 4 years. So Austin, I don't know if I will come across any of the other hills on this route, because I know where a few of them are, but they're not exactly where I am going. So obviously this is a huge perimeter, if you can tell. I'm over at about 3rd and Constitution now, so I'm going to cross to the other side of the street and probably go up towards Union Station and then make my way into the neighborhood that way. Okay, fountain pen teacher has confirmed that the past tense of sled is sledded. So, thank you for that. Ben is hoping to go to George Washington University. Have you put in your application yet, Ben? I hope that works out for you. This is a prime example of brutalist architecture right here, the U.S. Department of Labor. Love it or hate it. It is a somewhat common style of architecture here in D.C. Okay, walking, relaxing in the world is tuned in from Switzerland. What time is it in Switzerland? Walking, relaxing the world. And how much snow is on the ground in the city or town where you live? Yes, Denise has made an excellent point. We are about to get the dreaded wintry mix, which if you look at the ground here, we have already started, Denise. It's hard to tell on the camera, perhaps, but this is more slush than it is snow right here on this sidewalk. So once more people start walking on this sidewalk, it will quickly turn from a nice powder to the dreaded slushy mix. So I considered taking a Capitol bike share bike over to the National Mall to start this morning, but as I have not biked in snow in at least 2 years, decided against it, decided to walk instead. Figured that would be the safer option. Ben says he would like to study political science and get an internship on Capitol Hill. Well, that is an excellent plan if you go to college in DC. Not something that I have ever done, but certainly something that many have. Okay, Austin asks an excellent question here. He says, how does Capital Rideshare Bikes handle the snow/slush? As Capital Bike Share, close enough though. And the answer is probably better than your typical bike because they have extremely wide tires and they're pretty heavy. But if you have a special mountain bike or other special winter bike, probably not quite so well. Denise asks, what is that building? I think you're referring to this building. This is an office building. Not quite sure who all the tenants of this office building are. I don't believe it's anything more special than that. Over here behind the fence, very hard to see, that is the Robert Taft Memorial. And it has bells that ring every 15 minutes. So if we hit it at the right time, we might be able to hear them. One of my personal favorite hidden gem monuments, for folks who are asking about if we were going to pass any memorials. You probably don't know who Robert Taft is, and that's okay. He was related to William Howard Taft, who you may know as former president and the only person to also be both president and a Supreme Court justice. Okay, trying to look at the comments, but my glove is struggling with the wet phone. Michael asks, is the Metro open? And Denise confirms, yes it is. Metro is open on a Sunday schedule because it is Sunday, which means there are not many trains, but it is open. And Janet asked about when museums will open because she is coming in January 18th. So the answer is the museums will open when the Secretary of the Smithsonian and the leader of the other museums decide it's safe to reopen. They have given no dates because it's easier to not give dates and have to amend them than it is to just open. So when the museums reopened after the first time closing down, they usually, many of them just reopened on like a day or two's notice. So on Friday, you'd get notice and say, hey, the National Gallery of Art's going to reopen on Monday. And then it would reopen. So July, very hard to know, especially because that's still quite far in the future. Things could get a lot better by then. And yes, it is still snowing. So still walking around the perimeter here, walking up towards Union Station now, but we are going to pass soon another one of the hidden gem monuments. Back when I ran the tour called the Hidden Gems of Capitol Hill, this was on that tour route. Unfortunately, I have not run that tour in quite a while. Farewell, walking, relaxing the world as you sign off. So this memorial, right over here, I will take you inside in a moment. So officially, the full name of this memorial is the Japanese American Memorial to Patriotism During World War II. So this is an interesting one because it is a memorial that honors folks during World War II, but it's extremely different from the World War II memorial that you may have seen on the National Mall. It's very different from the FDR Memorial, which you may have seen on the National Mall. There were atrocities committed against people of Japanese descent during World War II, and this is a memorial to honor that reality. So we have these two birds trapped under barbed wire in the middle, and these are the names of the internment camps that were set up during World War II. The name, the location, and how many people were there. So a very real acknowledgement of what we did in this memorial. Yes, Peter says it is sad to see the fencing. I think no one is sadder about the fencing than folks who live in the neighborhood near the Capitol, because it really is quite a negative impact on their life and their quality of life at the moment. So when it's summer and the water is turned on, you have water that flows over the top of this and down into this pool below. Water is a commonly used element in these memorials, and it's really hard to see because it's wet, and I'm sure the quality of the camera is not so great, but these are some of the names of people who are being honored in this memorial, and some quotes from our leaders. Now, it's very rare for a memorial to acknowledge something like this. Like I said, you go to the World War II memorial, it's all about victory, it's all about celebration. But this one, very different. And in some ways, it's really a shame that it's way over here, over by Union Station, because I can't include it on the standard monuments tour. We can't go to the World War II memorial and see the celebration and then come here and feel that sadness. But in any case, it is there nonetheless. Walter's World, thank you for tuning in. Looks chilly. It is chilly. It is, I believe, 31 or 32 degrees. Obviously cold enough for there to be snow. And fortunately, not too windy. That is the killer, is the wind. When it gets windy, it can be pretty miserable. Yes, Denise said, used to watch fireworks from the Capitol and attend military concerts. I think that will be one of the saddest things if the military concerts don't resume this year. Okay, it looks like these guys are the Weather Channel. Yeah. So they're about to do a segment. If anybody gets the Weather Channel in their home, you can tune in, see what they're saying. I know there are some Weather Channel celebrities. I can't remember the guy's name who goes to all the hurricanes and the snowstorms, but it was hard to tell if any of those guys were recognizable. So this is Union Station straight ahead. A lot less foot traffic over here today. I imagine not many people traveling in and out of the station on a snowy Sunday. Jim asks a good question. Do I believe student tour groups will restart by summer? I think that's the hardest question to answer. And the reason is because family vacations, you only have to consider, a small number of people. If you're thinking, can my family of 4 travel to DC this summer? It's a lot easier because, maybe you can make a tentative plan and have a backup plan and do something else if it doesn't work out. But with a student group, it's a lot harder to have a backup plan when you're trying to get 100 kids all to the same place. You're trying to get reservations, hotels, buses, all that. And the other thing is that many schools still haven't even resumed in-person class. So it's hard for me to believe that if a school doesn't resume in-person classes this year, that they're going to send kids on a field trip. in the summer? But like I said, very hard question to answer. Okay, Ben says, I went there on a bus tour. I think you mean Union Station. That would make sense, as most bus tours start and end at Union Station, so you either started here or you passed through as they were picking people up. Elizabeth says, I have a trip booked in December. I really hope everything is back open so I don't have to reschedule it again. And if you're talking about December 2021, that is still 11 months away, so a lot could certainly change, and hopefully for the better. Yes, Walter's World, with the knowledge, says setting school trips is infinitely more difficult than a family trip. And I tend to agree with that. Okay, Jim asks, what are the current quarantine rules for DC? And if you watched the video I published on January 3rd, I have information about that. But the short version is that quarantine rules have been replaced with testing rules. And so you have to get a test, and you have to test negative. And if you test negative and you haven't been in contact with any positive cases, then you can come. Janet says, how are businesses doing in Union Station? I think the short answer is terrible. I think Magnolia Bakery has closed, perhaps permanently. That was quite a bummer, as that was one of the more high-profile businesses that came in. Magnolia Bakery is a big thing in New York City. If you've ever been to New York City and been to Magnolia Bakery, let me know, because I made the foolish mistake of always putting it off, saying, I could get it another time. And then COVID happened, and now they're closed and perhaps not coming back. So that is quite a shame. Yes, Peter, I remember you took a bus from Union Station to Gettysburg, and if I recall, said it was quite a good bus tour as well. So I'm always happy to hear when that kind of stuff works out, because sometimes you never really know how good it's going to be. This is the Christopher Columbus fountain. If you think the water's just turned off for the winter, well, the water has been turned off for decades. Many people don't even know that it is a fountain. They think it's just a memorial. Christopher Columbus, obviously, if you took history in school, you know who he is. And it was quite controversial when they were trying to design and locate the Lincoln Memorial, because some very powerful people wanted the Lincoln Memorial to be right here. And unfortunately, they said, well, that spot's already claimed by Christopher Columbus, so you're going to have to find another spot. Gina T asks if I'm going in the station. I am not going in the station today, but if people are interested, I may do a more in-depth look around the station another time. Kara says morning. Good morning, Kara. Thanks for tuning in. Yes, Gina T says Magnolia confirms that Magnolia has closed permanently, and it is heartbreaking. Did you go, Gina? Was it good? I am sad to say I never went, because I made the foolish mistake of always putting it off. And question is, what is the cost to tour now? Not sure which tour you're referring to. There are many costs, many different tours. Bus tours, typically you buy a ticket. It's anywhere from $25 to $50 for your ticket. TripX DC private tours, $299. If we ever return to public tours, those were $49. Fountain Pen Teacher asks if the DC Metro connects to Union Station, and yes, it does. But only one line, the red line, connects to Union Station. Gina says that Magnolia had the best banana pudding ever, so I am sad that I never got a chance to try it out. So one thing I didn't point out were the flags around the outside of the Columbus Circle here. If you look really closely, you'll notice they are states flags. And at one time, there was a debate about putting states flags around the base of the Washington Monument. And in the end, they wound up putting U.S. flags at the Washington Monument and states flags up here at Columbus Circle. Walter's World asks, are the Ethiopian restaurants still doing okay? I think they are doing okay. I wouldn't say that any restaurant is doing great. I think that people, including myself, are doing their best to order takeout from their favorite places as much as they can. And Ethiopian is actually very good as takeout. You know, some food does better as takeout than others. I happen to think that Ethiopian does quite well. The one disadvantage, I think, is that a lot of Ethiopian restaurants they're old school. They don't have, you know, sophisticated websites or online ordering systems, so it took a little while for a lot of restaurants like that to catch up. I haven't heard of any of the old school Ethiopian restaurants going out of business. Doesn't mean it hasn't happened, it just means I haven't heard about it. So, Walter's World, I hope the answer is that they are doing okay. So Gina, I have now passed Union Station, and I am heading into the Capitol Hill neighborhood. So I'll probably turn at some point and head back towards the Capitol building itself. We'll just see where our journey takes us here. Question about the underground tunnels. There are lots of tunnels under DC. There's metro tunnels, there's walking tunnels at the Capitol, there's the Senate subway, there's probably tunnels that we don't know about. So I have no idea what is directly under where I'm standing now. Michael says, I see a DC Metro bus. There was a Metro bus and 2 circulator buses back there. John asks if things are still closed. Yes, most tourist sites are closed due to COVID. So for details, I will refer you to my January 3rd update video on this topic. And you will get a more detailed explanation about what is open and what is closed. Okay, Gino says I should turn down 3rd or 2nd and left. I think, now that I've already ventured in this direction, that I'm going to take a peek at Stanton Park, or Stanton Square, which is only about a couple more blocks up, and then I will turn back towards East Capitol. And Kara says that her dad took a tour of the Senate subway with Senator JFK, and I'd say that's pretty cool. And Denise says the Smithsonian has tunnels, and I believe you, even though I have not been in them. If you have seen the movie Night at the Museum, Battle of the Smithsonian, you might be led to believe that the Smithsonian is connected by some quite massive tunnels. I think that's probably quite fictitious, and the reality is a little bit different, but I have met several folks over the years who work at the Smithsonian, and they have confirmed that there are many spots in the Smithsonian that are not part of the public museum. And Denise says, yes, you have to work there to go into the Smithsonian tunnels. I believe that. As a lowly tour guide, there are many things in DC that I have not seen or done. Okay, so we are now, I'd say, squarely into the neighborhood called Capitol Hill. In one of my videos, I talked about how you can refer to Capitol Hill either as the political stuff or the neighborhood. And this is the neighborhood part of it. Okay, question, where was Night at the Museum filmed? That is a good question. I think there were a few establishing scenes filmed in DC, but if I recall correctly, the movie, the inside scenes were mostly filmed in Canada. So if anyone knows Hollywood and can confirm, let Ben know where Night at the Museum was filmed. Most movies that are set in DC are not filmed here. But if you've seen Wonder Woman 1984, that is a rare exception. Up here on the left, we have a rather popular neighborhood liquor store, Schneider's of Capitol Hill. I have not been in a while, but I know that they have had to adjust a bit to do more takeout orders, as it's quite packed inside that store. And looks like we've got some outdoor dining. Those fires look pretty intense. Not sure if you can really tell on the camera. But if you want to dine, you can do it next to open flame. So up on the other corner is Stanton Park, also called Stanton Square. It was part of Pierre L'Enfant's original design of the Washington, D.C. street grid. Stanton Park and Lincoln Park, which is named after Abe Lincoln, are both considered neighborhood parks, even though, due to the arrangement that we have here, they are actually both technically national parks. They are operated by the National Park Service, which can cause some tension, especially when the National Park Service is under-resourced and not able to do the best job of maintaining it. So, I've already counted 2 snow people so far, and about a half a dozen dogs running around here in the park. So it's called Stanton Park, named after Edward Stanton, who was the Secretary of War when Abraham Lincoln was president. And he was eventually fired. This was part of the reason why Andrew Johnson was impeached. Quite an interesting history, although I will not go into the details here now, but quite fascinating if you are interested. So this is the baby hill right here. Austin was asking about other hills. This hill probably only goes up about 4 feet, but it's high enough for a kid to ride a sled down. Now this guy in the middle of the park, you might say, oh, that's Edward Stanton, the guy whose name is on the park. And that would make perfect sense, except that it's not. That is Nathaniel Greene, who was a general during the Revolutionary War. So, 2 different war-related people honored in this park. Question, have I ever seen a political figure in real life? Well, sure. It's not that rare to bump into someone who works in politics. There are 435 members of the House of Representatives, 100 senators, thing is, I bet most people don't know what most of them even look like. All right, Jim asks an excellent question. I swear I didn't set this one up. And says he enjoys the videos. They provide good insight. And how long have I been a tour guide? So I have been making the videos for, is it, what, 3 full years now? 3 years? 4 years? And I have been a tour guide for 9 years now. So I did not have TripHacks DC for all 9 of them. I started my touring career working for another company. And that is how I got many, many hundreds of hours of practice giving the tours. All right, so these are the sidewalks that I have to be extremely careful on because there are a lot of brick sidewalks here and there are a lot of uneven sidewalks. So if I am lucky, I will not wipe out trying to navigate these streets. These are very old streets, very old houses. And it looks very nice, but you have to be careful on a wet day. So the interesting thing about these houses is that they were not all built in the same time period. And as you walk the different blocks, if you have a good architectural eye, you will notice different styles of architecture. And you'll notice that often a row of them will be from the same time period, but then you turn a block and go a different direction, and they might be from a completely different time period. So if you're into that kind of architecture, it can be quite fascinating. Denise says that is not brick. I think this is brick right here. If I'm wrong, let me know what it really is, but it definitely looks like red brick to me. So this is 5th Street, which is a rather quiet street. 4th and 6th tend to get a little bit more traffic. But I'm at 5th and A right here. And when I get one more block up, I will turn down East Capitol Street and walk towards the Capitol in that direction. Dallas, how did I skip your question for Denise? Well, it's very hard to see my phone. It's wet. And I'm having a hard time navigating the comments with my glove. So if I skipped your question, I'm sorry, but it's not personal. All right, so we are about to approach East Capitol Street. This is Main Street here in the neighborhood, both for traffic, for bikes, for walking. This is where you will find many of the historic Capitol Hill row houses. And when I did the live video with Ariel on the Urbanist channel, we talked a little bit about how this is prime spot for trick-or-treating around Halloween. Because we did that video, I believe, the weekend before, maybe 2 weekends before Halloween. All right, where is the Blair House? It is on the other side of town, right at the White House. Hello, Simon. Good to see you. Simon, you have missed most of it, but you can always rewind and rewatch. That's the beauty of these live streams. Do you have plans to make it back, Simon? I know many people have said that they do miss DC. Quite quiet here on East Capitol Street today. Denise asks if I'm going to go to Lincoln Park, and I am not. I'm walking back to the west now, and I'll probably wrap up around 2nd Street up here, as my fingers are a bit too cold to go for much longer. Luann asks if there are still a lot of military. I think you are referring to National Guard. I don't know the exact number. I think I've seen maybe 10 today as I've walked around. 10 people. So that doesn't seem like a lot. They're certainly not out today. But the news stories have information about the total number who are in town. Craig and M used to live by here on my right on East Capitol Street. Craig and M. I feel like East Capitol Street is a premier address here in the neighborhood. Simon's going to watch all the videos from the start. I even organized them into playlists, Simon, to help you keep them organized if that helps you at all. And Kara says she thinks 5,000 until March. I think I've seen that number as well. But if there are 5,000 National Guard here, I certainly did not see them today. So I don't know exactly where they are. But they are not out and about. So, question about the snow is, how long will it snow, I guess? Austin says until Sunday night. I think it's already started to slow down a little bit. It feels a lot like there's a lot less coming down now than there was half an hour ago. Gina says my kid lives on 3rd. Southeast or northeast, Gina? Because I just passed 3rd. So Peter had plans to go to New York in May, which is now postponed until August/September. Okay, so northeast is to my right, and I'm about to cross here. And go down 2nd Street. Marina, greetings from Brazil. What is the weather like where you live in Brazil, Marina? Probably not like this, as you are in the southern hemisphere. And Rob says, looks like another typical day along the shores in Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm guessing that means it is cold and wet. And Simon tuning in from the UK. Good to have you, Simon. This is the Library of Congress on the opposite side of the street. One of my personal favorite buildings in all of the city. and unfortunately have not been able to go inside in nearly a year now. They closed in March and just never reopened. Craig and M snow here in Wales. Now, I heard some other folks mention earlier that there was snow in the UK last weekend, but I don't think they were referring to Wales. Marina says no snow in Brazil, but the beach is amazing, just as a tease to all of us who are in the most unbeach-like weather possible right now. Now I have to be very careful on this sidewalk because this is nothing but slush up here. Obviously, many people have walked down this block already today. Gina says, I went to high school in the Library of Congress. Does that mean you studied in the reading room, or am I misreading your comment? It was very snowy in Simon's Yard last weekend. So if you enjoy it, then I suppose it was a good weekend. All right. Oh, fountain pen teacher, thank you for the super chat. I'm glad you enjoyed the architecture even on a snowy, fenced-in day. Some of the comments have moved past and I can't get them to work. Can't get my finger to move the screen with my glove on, so sorry if I missed your comment. All right, Simon asks about the fences. Yes, it is strange. It's very strange for me. I think it's very strange for everyone. I don't think anyone who lives here is particularly happy with the situation. Obviously, no one wants another attack like the one that happened on January 6th, but certainly no one wants this either. So I do not have any inside information about that. Only time will tell. All right, so I am going to come up on one of my favorite hidden gems, a dying breed, the old-fashioned diner. It's this one right over here called Pete's Diner. They don't make them like this anymore. The greasy spoon, as you might say. But now that it's been about an hour, I will say that my finger out as cold as they can get. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in to this rather spontaneous live stream today. I know I tried to do one yesterday, and I do apologize for everyone who wanted to tune in yesterday and was not able, as I simply could not get the YouTube app to connect. And I tried and I tried and I tried, and it just gave me errors. So you know how that can be. Well, Simon says he's actually eaten here, so that is pretty cool. Tim, thank you for tuning in. Marina, thank you for tuning in. And if you are still watching and you want to give a thumbs up, that's always appreciated. And we'll say thank you to Craig and M, Ron, Austin. Thank you for calculating all those inches to millimeters conversions. Kara, thanks for tuning in. And Craig and M have subbed, so thank you for subscribing to the channel. Abby Walters, I didn't know you were here, but thanks for tuning in. And AV Geek, didn't know you were here either. But it usually snows more in New York City than it does here. Gina, always thank you for tuning in. Jim, thanks for joining. And I will see all of you another time. And as always, enjoy your trip.